So welcome guys. Welcome to the workshop on GitHub and Git. So firstly, we'll be dealing with Git and GitHub and the various aspects. If you are very interested in what we will be covering today, these are the topics. Firstly, we'll go to the introduction to Git and GitHub and so on until we have discussed the most important files and the scope of this workshop will be complete. Okay. Firstly, let's look at what is GitHub and Git. Now, beginners might get it very confused about, they might think that Git and GitHub are the same thing. I want to make it clear, it's not. GitHub is a cloud-based management platform. Like, let's say you want to code. You're busy coding, obviously, because we are computer science engineers and there are many companies who are constantly uploading code. Now, it's very risky to just keep it on your local system over here, because your system might crash and you might lose out on all the necessary files and all your code. So if you in case don't back it up somewhere, there's a huge chance that you might just spend for 6 months working on something and it bears no fruit. Hence, we have GitHub. It's a cloud-based platform where you can upload various versions of code. You can use it to collaborate with other people, as well as keep track of the changes made to your repository. I'll be getting into what a repository is, as well as a branch and everything in just a few moments. Now, we have a basic idea of what is GitHub. What is Git now? Git is a tool which is used to operate on GitHub. If you're interested in knowing a bit more about Git, I'd like to say that it was used in the development process of the Linux kernel. It's also built by the creator of Linux, who was Linus Torvalds. Amazing, amazing man. He has completely transformed the world with his tech genius. And Git is something which is used across every industry as well as startup or high profile company you can think of. You can, it's almost mandatory or essential to learn it, because if you're not learning it, you're falling back. Uh, Now, firstly, we'll get to downloading Git, then we'll get to downloading GitHub, like signing into GitHub and creating a new repo. Git downloads. Okay. There are various modes of downloads. If you're on a Linux-based system, you would go over here. I'm currently on Windows, so I'd download this particular setup over here. And on downloading the setup, you can just mm, you can run the installer file, and that would actually give you the runnable file which you can use, and your Git will be installed on the system, and you can use it from your GitHub from your VS Code terminal. I think it should be here somewhere. Well, it's not something very technical, so I believe we can just do it. Just try to download this over here, and we'd be able to access it and download it and run it. Now let's get to GitHub. Now, if you can see, the first thing which we'll be dealing with is making our first GitHub repository. For that, you just go over here, new. Let's name it as something which we are working on currently, Trc Club GitHub Remote Workshop. Okay. And in doing that, we have a name for a repository. The name is available. And then if we want, we can add a description, which is such. This is a repo made for demonstration purposes on GitHub. Now, you can obviously configure if you want it to be public or private. If you're working on something with a club and you want it to be open source, make it public. If you're working on something in your institution or in your enterprise, you can make it private. You can still deploy it through Vercel or through AWS. That won't be a problem. And you can choose to manually add these files. Although I'd recommend I prefer to add it directly through the VS Code terminal. Hence, you can just keep them as off and create the repository. Perfect. Now a repository has been created. Now you might be thinking, what exactly is a repository? What is a repository? Now, I'd say that a repository is like a big directory with a certain directory structure. It has files, it has methods, it has programs, codes, which forms your code base. It's a folder containing your entire project, but it's existing on the cloud. It's existing on this website, which acts as the interface for the cloud storage where your code is actually saved. Just think of it as a folder or like as a collection of files and programs and methods. Now we have um, made our first repo. Let's get to working on this repository. For that, I'll first open a new folder. Let's call it as GitHub Workshop latest. As you can see, we have had a few workshops already. So we'll create a new one for demonstrating the workings of Git and GitHub again. Now, we have made our first repository, GitHub configurations. Now, when you first have installed Git, you'll I'd recommend move it to VS Code, or you can use the Git Bash directly. You can type Git Bash and work with here directly. Although, if you since you mostly people type their code in GitHub, sorry, in VS Code, you can just work on the terminal here directly. How do you know that?
Okay, Atya, how did you connect it to this thing,
Yeah, for that,
VS Code?
I'll just get into that in 1 second.
Okay, okay.
So if you go into downloads, like where I had shown the Git installer, like over here, if I were to download it, suppose Git, I'll just in fact show the downloading phase. So as soon as this is installed, we can just run the exe file, and automatically Git is installed on our system. When that is done,
Okay, then
we
the
can just
bash file would be there.
yes, yes, yes.
Like,
The
okay, okay.
bash file is there, which you can run to use Git from any part of your system.
But how is it connected to VS Code? Like, how do you connect it with VS
Yeah,
Code itself?
that's pretty good question. So that is not more to do with GitHub, but that's something about your internal file system as well. When you're running this Git Bash over here, it's basically opening a terminal on your system. You have this terminal, so it's basically opening this terminal itself. And if you type git v, the versions shows up over here. Now, when you're going into GitHub, when you're going into VS Code, you're just using this same terminal which you can use from anywhere on your system. So it's more a feature of VS Code itself. The terminal gets opened up over here, and since Git is installed globally across your system, it's automatically used in VS Code as well. Does that clear up the doubt?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, excellent. Now, I'll just show you the installation process, which I might have skipped, but I think it's best if I show it to you guys. Um, 54 point. Okay. Now, before we start working, I just want to tell you guys about the few processes which we need to actually push our code to GitHub. We'll get to these over here. But before we do that, we have to first configure our Git for the VS Code. As you can see, the installer is here. So we can just simply run this file. And on doing so, right now it's already installed for me, so I don't want to run it again. But you can just follow a few trivial steps and Git would be installed on your device. Now, to first use Git, you have to do Git init. What it's saying is, yeah, I'm in VS Code, I'm essentially in a folder. And when I do Git init, it's basically creating a hidden .git file, which um, it's creating this .git file, which acts as the connection for me to connect to the cloud. It's basically creating a method by which I can connect to the GitHub on the cloud via my terminal. Now, before you can get started on actually working with GitHub and Git together, you need to first configure your username as well as your email. If you can see, this is my username. I know my username, so I'll just do it as git config user dot name, the unnamed one, right? This is my name for my GitHub account. If you want, you can definitely check my account out. And you can then verify, sorry, git config user dot name. So now our latest username has been modified. Git config Aditya, sorry. Now we'll also configure our email. This should be the same email which you're using for your GitHub account as well. That's how you can actually connect to the GitHub over the cloud and start pushing code over here. So now email, and then you type your email over here. Like if you, I'm not showing my mail, git config user dot email. Like you can see with the email which is already entered. I don't want to make changes to this. So now we have done the basic configurations uh, for using GitHub with Git. For the people who are doing this for the first time, you might be prompted to do a few more steps. And if you do encounter that, you can always look at YouTube for this specific step only. Like how do you get past that for authentication or other purposes? Or if you are stuck, you can always ask an LLM to clear up your doubts. Now we already have done Git init. A, a connection has been made. Now we want to work on a project. Let's say I am very interested in coding with C++. So I'll say I want to create a calculator, calculator.cpp. Yep.
Oh yeah. So one small thing is, so once we've configured it, right? That's
Yep.
over, right? We'll never have to do it again. Like the
And
next time we open GitHub, we won't have to do this logging thing again, right?
a nice
As in
question.
VS Code, I mean.
Yeah, in VS Code, you don't usually need to. For that, I might have not mentioned it. You can just do this global user dot name. So in that case, it's like so when you do this, what happens is that for all your repositories, like for now, I'll only be working on this current repository. Okay. So in the future too, I'll be working on other repositories. So you can just add this global flag, and in doing so, whenever you want to use GitHub, whenever you want to use Git from VS Code terminal, every single time your credentials remain the same. Usually, even if you don't do global, it will remain the same. But if you're doing global, that kind of like cements it that yeah, it'll always remain the same.
It applies to all of the things that
Yes,
you
yes,
have added and will add.
yes, yes. From this point onwards, these are the same credentials which will be used on this particular flag. Okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So now let's say I'm very interested in creating a basic calculator. So let's do that. Okay. I'll just create the basic code for a calculator. Space standard in main. And I want to, let's say, welcome to calculator. And I'll just create a few basic methods in A and B, return A plus B, in sub, in A and B, return A minus B, in mul, in B, return A into B. Okay, now we have a basic calculator with a few basic features. Now let's go to this part. Just 1 second. Now we have done the configurations. Now we have to get to linking our repo to our Git terminal. So how exactly do we do that? For that, we need to do, we need to type this exactly. Git remote add origin. I just want to mention something. Right now, we are working with creating our own project from scratch. Hence, we are doing Git remote add origin. Usually, people work with uh, like a ready-made template, or if they're working on an enterprise, they'll just clone into it. That's something which we'll deal with a bit later when we get into collaboration. Git remote add origin, and now what I must do is I go into this repository, and over here I'll find a link. I simply copy it. 1 second. I simply copy it and add a .git extension at the end. Voila. Our connection is made from our local device over here to this GitHub terminal, GitHub platform. How do we verify this? How you are like I can just claim that it's connected, but how do we verify that it is working fine? For that, we just type git remote v. Yeah. If something like this is showing up, something for a fetch and something for a push method, that means your terminal is well connected to your repository. Usually, if you don't have access to the particular repository, this doing this won't allow you to like push methods. Okay. Now, I'm very proud of my calculator program. Now I want to actually add it to the staging area. What does that mean? I've created a new file. I've made changes to it. Now it's my turn to actually give the first line of confirmation. That is, I'm taking it to the staging area. That is, after edits, I'm actually confirming the changes. Done. You can see previously it was U. Now it's A, which denotes added. Add is for the addition method, which takes it to the staging area. And dot is a universal operator. It means it adds all the existing files in this folder over here directly into your like staging area. For that matter, I'll just show you another program. Hello.cpp. I'll not type into it, but you can see it's unadded. When I do git add dot, just to get added to the staging area. Perfect. Now comes our most important step of this process because it involves also typing messages. Git commit m. Commit means now you have confirmed that you have made changes and you are you have already added them to the staging area. Now you're going one step forward and you're saying that now I'm confirming these changes and what I am committing, it's taking a snapshot of my current code and changes, and this is what will be pushed into my repository over here. Git commit, and I'll type a message. Always, it's a good coding practice to be very specific. If you're like, let's say, typing a message like this, my program. No, what is this? No one can tell what the code is even about. You should always be specific. It's an important coding practice and a good collaboration practice to give meaningful commit names like added, calculator, program, and a basic template. Okay. So now this is something which will be committed to. So what I do, press enter. Perfect. Then as you can see, we have encountered no errors. Now comes the last step where I've uh, made the commit. The only thing left is to actually push it over here. How do I do that? Git push origin. Uh, Prior to that, I'll just tell you about creating your own branch. I'll just say, let's give a meaningful name, calculator template. Is that fine? So you might be thinking what this all means. Checkout is used for switching branches. What is a branch? Branch is a feature. If you're working on a big enterprise, obviously you won't be changing all the entire code, right? You'll be making features. You'll be making, like, let's say if you're in a website and you have to make a feature for a chat application, then you won't make the entire company website, or you won't make the entire company product from scratch. You just make the chat application. So you can just make your chat application in a separate branch and name it like this, like calculated template, and you all your work is pushed to this specific branch or this specific feature. You can see that I have switched to a new branch, which is calculator template. I can always check the current branch I'm on, which is Git branch. Usually master is the main production branch. And what I do now is I push it to calculator template branch. How do I do that? Git push origin. Push basically means I am saying, yeah, now uh, put it there on this GitHub platform over here. And origin means it's pushing to this base. Like there are multiple branches. The base, like base structure on which it will be published, that denotes origin. Git push origin, and I'll give the branch name what I want to push it. Also, you can add this -u flag template. So when you do this, and when you finally confirm it, your this code, which you can see over here, will be pushed to your GitHub platform. Any questions?
What was origin again? Like,
Yeah, origin. I'll just explain it once again. So, like on GitHub, like you have various branches, right? So, like origin is, you can imagine it like the base. It's kind of like the base structure on which your repo is existing. You can just like your repository has various like parts and sections. The most important structure on which your entire project is based. That is the origin.
so it's
Does that?
basically like the base folder, like
Yeah, you can call it like a base folder.
okay, like it's the folder where all the files will be, and then and it'll contain the folders of the other files that could maybe extend into the
Yeah,
public.
you can kind of like draw an analogy like that. Yeah, I'd say that's a good way of looking at it.
Okay, okay.
So then you can see I have added a -u flag. What does it mean? It means upstream. Like obviously you can see it's a bit tedious to write this entire thing again. Next time onwards, I can just do git push and it would be pushed to this branch. It's basically configuring this branch as the default branch for pushing it next time. If I do this, you can see that it completely pushed everything which you had without any issues. If I go to GitHub and just simply refresh my page once, you can see that my code has been pushed from here onto my GitHub platform over here. And I can also view what has what is present over here. So I right now let's check how far are we done. We have linked our repo, we have git add, git commit, create new branch for features, pushing to remote branch. Okay, just one thing which is git status. I'll just get into that once again because I might have missed it. So let's say this usually comes after the add stage and before the commit stage. Let's say welcome to calculator, and I say you're accepting an input, PIN choice. And then according to the choice, we can call these methods. I'm not getting into the coding of that. Now I check my status. Status will tell you what files are added or modified. Uh, what's the current status of all your files in your folder. If you can see modified calculator.cpp, but it has not been added yet. I do add. When I check it again, it shows up in green. That means I have added it to the staging area. Let's push it again. Added input feature for calling methods. Okay, I try to avoid what I've just done, which is a spelling error. It doesn't look good if a developer makes this trivial errors while pushing GitHub. Git push. Yeah. If I do git push now, You can see that since -u was there, it will automatically get pushed to calculator template. Get push. And on doing so, yeah, and just now it shows a commit, which is calculator.cpp, yeah, cin.choice. Now we have updated GitHub. Now we'll get to working on collaboration. And now we have finally finished working with our own projects. But we have not yet dealt into one of the main features of GitHub and Git, that is collaboration. One of the main reasons GitHub was built was to collaborate with other people. So now let's say I want to add a collaborator to this specific project, this specific repository. How do I do that? I'll go into settings. I'll go into collaborators. And from here, I can actually add a collaborator. So as you can see, GitHub is very strict with its policies of multi-factor authentication. So I'll just take a moment and authenticate myself on my device. And on doing so, it should allow me to add a new collaborator. Excellent. Now I'll add my other account over here. Yep, this is my other account, and I'll add myself as a collaborator. You can see that there's a pending invite. I'll just accept the invite. I won't be showing that part though. You can simply stay over here. And when I have accepted the invite, it should show that I have been added as a collaborator on the other account. Okay, here I go. I am now about to accept, and I have accepted. So now, yeah, there's no more pending invite. Now, if I go to the code, I have now one more person who will be working on this project. So for that reason, now I'll switch to my other system, which is a Linux-based system over here. So I'll stop the presentation on this device currently, and we'll just follow the working from that device from now on. Okay, now our work will continue on this Linux-based system, and to see what it's like, let's look at this device over here. Now we can see that our this second device is able to view this repository, and now we want to add some features from this device as a collaborator. How do we go about doing that? New terminal. Now, when we go to the new terminal, we have to, just one second, I'll probably create a new folder over here, GitHub collab, and I'll add this folder into my GitHub terminal, um, into my VS Code. I have opened this new folder. Now let's get to working on this project. First of all, I'll open a new terminal, and I have created a new terminal. Okay, now I'll go into my remote repo over here, and just one second. Now, if I want to actually work on this project over here, I'll need to take this link and clone into it. Previously, as you can see, we had used the command git init. Here we won't be doing that because we are not creating a project from scratch. One of the main parts of collaboration is cloning into a repo. Git clone dot git. On doing this, we will now have a copy of this repository on our second device, who is not the creator of that repository. Cloning into TRC Club GitHub Remote Workshop. I can see what device I'm using, because if I do the git config user dot email, it should show up. Yeah, it shows up a different email account. If I do git config user dot name, it shows up another username. So we know that we're not working from the same account. Git, uh, let's clear it up. Okay. Now let's get to working on a new feature on the calculator. CD TRC Club GitHub Remote
What is this?
Workshop.
So CDs change directly, right?
Yeah, CD is just change directory. It's a Linux command. So now we can see the files inside this list of files. We can see
So
it. Let's
so
work
how
on the
would you do it
calculator.
on Windows then?
Sorry?
If you wanted to change the
Yeah,
directory.
on the Windows, you can. I prefer personally using a Windows substitute in Linux, or you can, instead of doing this, you can just go into the folder over here, open folder. That's a simple way. I'm just opening this directly and opening it. Then you don't need to
Okay,
use CD or anything.
I see.
This opens up directly. Okay?
Right, right.
Okay, fine. So now let's go to calculator.cpp, hello.cpp. Let's say I want to make changes to both these files. Now, I am seeing this calculator program, but I can see that it's missing some essential methods. Like we don't have a power method, or we don't have the basic division method. So let's add a division method over here. For that, I'll just type div int a, int b, and I'll just return this to the user. So we have made a new method, and we can get started on working on our contribution in this project. Division station. Yep. So now we have added a method, and we can see that something is modified. Also, we want to create, so add something to the hello app, because hello.cpp, because why not? I was stream using namespace space std int main, and I'll just write cout hello from the second collaborator Bhandari course. Now I have added a new I've added a few new features into the current code base. And always create a separate branch for yourself when you're working on a new feature. Git checkout B. I'll name this as calculator methods branch. Okay. Always give meaningful names to your branch, because we want to be absolutely sure what you're working with. And it's also good for the other collaborators to know what you have worked on. Now let's look at the branch I'm currently on. I'm on calculator methods. Okay, fine. Now let's get to pushing this onto GitHub. So we'll just call these basic commands, which we have already discussed before. Commit m added a division method and modified the hello program. Okay. Now our files have been committed, and now we can get to pushing on it. Push origin calculator methods. And in doing so, a new branch should be created. Like as you can see, right now there are no branches yet. If I refresh it, the new branch should be present over here. And calculator CPP, you can see that the division method is here, and also the hello world program is here. And but this is not our main branch. Our main branch is actually calculator template. So now you can see over here the changes do not reflect yet because features have been added to the other branch, but not to this one. So how can we merge these two branches to uh, give the complete product? How do we incorporate this feature into the main branch, into the default branch? For that, we go into something which is very, very interesting, that is merging. And for that, we do a pull request. In a pull request, we first create a new pull request. It's basically a method to like add features into the main production branch or into a certain branch with the help of other branches. So we know that we have to take the features from our calculator methods, because this is the feature branch, and put it into our calculator template. Now we can see that we can create a pull request. We have one contributor. And also, I just want to discuss something that is, so just 1 second. On this program, you can see that no contributors or collaborators show up yet. That will soon change. Now we can, and then you're basically a commit shows up as the name of the title. You can keep it as such, or if you want, you can modify it. I'll keep it the same for now, and I can add a description. Added a method for integer division on the calculator methods branch. Anything like it should not be vague. It should be very specific to what you have done. And I'll say create a pull request, or let's not add calculator methods on added a method for integer division on the calculator program. Yeah, that sounds much better. Calculator program. Perfect. Now we just create the pull request. And this is the moment where most programmers cross their fingers because they don't want any merge conflicts. We'll see. Yeah. When you see this, you're basically good to go. You won't encounter any issues. There are no merge conflicts. Merge conflicts is basically a programmer's worst nightmare when working with GitHub. Merge conflicts arise when it arises in a few cases. We'll see if we can discuss it because right now that's a bit of a hassle to deal with. Right now we'll just discuss the plain old scenario of merging two branches. We'll say merge the two branches and confirm the merge. And in doing so, a successful merge has been performed. If I go into code now, if I go into the calculator template, added a division method for and modified the hello program. We go into the calculator.cpp, our division method has been added into the main template. And in the contributors, you can see a new member pop up. So this is something which you must work to get when you're working on like projects on open source projects. Like guys might be familiar with Google summer of code or like Girl script summer of code. You usually create methods on a feature branch and then you push it to GitHub and hope that it gets accepted in a pull request and your feature gets added and your name shows up as a contributor in the repository. This is what open source developers work on. Now, I have created my feature. So now let's remove the branch because we don't need so many branches. Git fetch origin, we'll just get a collection of all the branches, although it should, we just saw that the calculator template got updated. Now, if you want to delete a branch, we just do git push delete calculator methods. Git push origin, sorry. We have to doing so, our calculator methods should be removed from here. But I think there might be something interesting. Yeah, because when you're pushing origin and deleting the calculator methods, it only gets deleted from this remote repository, but an instance of that still remains on your local system. So if you want to push back this branch again, you can still do so. Now we'll get to working on a more realistic scenario. We'll simulate. Yep.
One question though is like, how would you clone a branch? Like you don't want
How
to
do you
clone
clone
the
it?
main thing, you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
clone
yeah.
a branch.
Yeah. So I'll just show that part. Like in that case, let's go back to this part. When you go into clone, it always clones into the main master branch. Okay. And after that, to go into a specific branch, you don't clone into it, you just do checkout. You just do git checkout and the name of the branch you want to switch to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So you can't, so that's the method of how you
Yeah,
practically
that's
clone
the
the
method.
branch.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like cloning into a particular branch does not make much sense because then like I think it'll increase the coding for the product itself. You can just go clone into the base branch and then just check out and go into other branches. That's more optimized.
Yeah, I just wanted to know like how you can get those files, those specific files, like those some unupdated, but you have to like you'll be working on the branches mostly, right?
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah,
then,
exactly.
yeah. Okay.
So, okay, I'll just still show it to you. If for now you can see that, let's say only calculator template is here. So when I first clone into it, so first do clone, calculator template will show up. But like previously, calculator methods was there. In that case, what I would just do was I'd first clone into the repository like how I did over here, .git, and after doing that, I would simply do git checkout and the name of the branch I want to switch to, like if there's a feature to branch. So does that make sense? In fact, just the situation I'm going to discuss will need that. So should I discuss that?
Yeah, yeah, just discuss it too.
Sure, sure. So now let's get to working on a a repository which has been used for previously for the workshop. We'll use this repository, Tech Resources Club, Get It Done Workshop. Let's clone into this repository over here. Uh, for that, I'll move into another new folder, okay? New folder, and I'll add a folder, website work. Let's name it such. I'll get into this, open, and now let's clone into this specific repository. Terminal, new terminal, git clone dot git, git it done workshop. Yeah. So now I do this, get it done workshop, and now we have just reached the doubt which you have just mentioned previously. Yeah, you can see that as soon as we enter, we are on this branch, which is the base practice.git, the default branch of the repository. Now you want to work on a certain other branch, let's say. So for that, I just do checkout. I'll check out the branches over here. Suppose I want to go to template 2, get checkout, template 2. And in doing so, I'll automatically reach that specific branch which I want to work with. So is that cleared up now?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. So now let's work on checking what this is. This is for those of you who are familiar with web development. This is actually like a React app. To work on the React app, by the Avinav, can you like mute? I think the sound's coming. Okay. So now let's work on running this. Usually it won't run because I don't have the dependencies or the node modules file. Just show that. Yeah. So for that, what I can do is npm install. Now the Vite app should be installed over here. Node modules and npm. We have added some bootstrap features inside. So for that reason, make a. I'll have to install the bootstrap as well. Bootstrap. Okay. And npm install bootstrap react. I think the name is react bootstrap instead of bootstrap react. So I'll just do that. React bootstrap. Yeah. So as you can see, all our essential dependencies are installed. And to run the Vita app, we'll do npm run dev. Let's see what the website looks like currently. Yeah, this is what our website looks like. It's a very basic website just for demonstration purposes. So now let's work on adding a feature. Now, firstly, one of the problems which people face while working on collaborative projects is staying up to date with what's happening. Your system should know what has happened on on the latest branch you're working with. So for that, you do. Let's see the branch I'm currently on. I'm on the template 2 branch, right? So I do git pull origin. It's basically saying I'm like accepting the latest changes made into this branch on my system over here. Template 2. Perfect. All branches are already up to date. Now we don't obviously work on this branch itself. We create a separate branch of our own. For that, we do checkout B. And let's say, okay, now first let's assess the website. Uh, I really like this website, but I scroll down and I also want to, let's say I want to add like a box. I want to add a box saying my name, like, I don't know, Aditya. So let's call it a new feature branch, new feature. If I've not already mentioned, this hyphen B is to create a new branch, whereas if you omit it, it's used to switch to an existing branch. Switch to a new branch, new feature. Let's check the branch I'm currently on. Perfect. Now on my local system, I have an instance of this website. So let's get to working on a new feature. I'll do a bit of coding with React. So this is not related to Git or GitHub in itself. This is just a bit of React.js programming. I'll just show how that goes. Let's say I want to create a rectangular component. Rectangular component. Okay. And over here, I'll add a JSX file, which is rectangle component dot .jsx and function rectangle component. And I'll just export this. Export default rectangle component. And I want to display something. So I'll display a box with a set with my name on it. So I'll say div hi. My name is Aditya Narayan Bhandari. I am a contributor to this website, and I can see that automatically this change should be visible on this website as soon as I integrate this. So for that, I'll go into my main components front page and I'll import this new component. Import rectangular component. Okay. And I'll include this just at the top because let's say I'm a very narcissistic contributor. I want my name to be at the top. For that, I'll just rectangular component. Yeah. Hi, my name is Aditya Bhandari. I'm a contributor to this website. Okay, so we have added a new feature to our website, and I'll get rid of this existing hello program. I think it should be add.js. Yeah. No one else says hello apart from me. Hi, my name is Aditya Bhandari. I'm a contributor to this website. I have added a new feature to this website. This is something front-end developers will be working on the club website soon. So please look at this part properly. Rectangle component. Hi, my name. Okay, this is blank, so I'll just add a bit of style too, bit of coding with React as well. Let's like name box. I've added a class, and I'll just to give it some style. I'll also import a CSS file. Import for that. I will create a CSS file over here. Style dot CSS. In doing so, I'll just define a method for this. I will say that the width is 200 bits. Usually, a bit of tip on while working on websites, don't use hard-coded lengths like this, not in pixels. Try to keep it in percentages or like VH or EM, REM, those kind of stuff. Height, 200 pixels, and say import dot slash style dot CSS. I'm a contributor to this website, and I'll add a background color of yellow. Yeah, you can see that I have added this. Yeah, I have added this new feature to this website. Usually, like yeah, we have already practiced adding a nav bar to the website. Now we have added a box to the website. Perfect. Also add a border solid red sequence, I guess. So now I'm very proud of my work on the website. I want to push this to GitHub again. Now I can either create a pull request or I can actually do it from the terminal itself. So how do I do that now? Let's check it out. For that, first of all, I push my changes to my branch over here. Git git add dot git commit added an intro added an introductory factory box to my contribution for the website. Also, this is still a bad coding practice, not just because you're narcissistic, because you have mentioned to my contribution. Who are you? Add an introductory box for the contribution of a member for the website. Of a member for the website. We are nearing the end of this workshop now, so just hang on tight and git push origin. I think the name of this, I'll just check the name of the branch. I'm just getting it currently. Yeah, git push origin new feature. Yeah, now our new feature has been added to this repository. Let's take a look. Yeah, new feature has our latest changes now. Okay, now we want to perform a merge operation while testing it on this website itself, well, on our system itself. Get checkout template 2, get pull origin template 2. I'll just get the latest changes. Okay, fine. Now, if we are working on template 2, now we want to see if our latest features are here. If you go to our template 2 branch, we can see that our latest feature has been removed because we are on another branch. Now, there's one issue with what we had previously done. That is, you created a pull request. That is, you're merging directly on GitHub without checking if all the features are working fine. Here, when we do it through the terminal, we can actually perform checks instead of relying on GitHub to do the job for us. So what do? We do git merge new feature, and automatically git merge. Yep. Doing so on our local system, we should be able to see that this feature is has been merged or has been added into our template 2 branch. Now you can see that that's not the case over here. If I go to my template 2, the rectangular component is not yet present, which is it's a components. It's not yet present, but on my local system, it is present on the template 2 branch. So, like right now, I'm working on the second device because I've given admin access. But suppose I was on my other device and I reviewed this branch, I'd be able to get this view from the creator of this particular repository. Let's look at it. Yeah, I'm able to see that this new feature has been added while being on template 2 branch, but it's not pushed to the remote branch yet. Now I want to add, I've seen that it's a stable version, everything is working fine, although I don't think the design is so good, but let's say everything is working fine. Git add dot, git commit, m, accept, uh, added. I think actually you don't need to commit to it because it just shows your latest feature unless you're modifying this. I'll still show it to you guys. Commit m, added latest contribution box. Yeah, nothing to commit because your contributor has done the commit for you. Git commit, and what I'll do, git push origin template to. Yeah, let's look at this now. Yeah, you can see that the latest feature has been added to SRC. Subcomponents. So we can also perform merges using the terminal itself. Now we just have to discuss one last topic, that is the important files in GitHub. This is where we come back to the very beginning, the README license as well as the git ignore files. I'll just show you this directly. So yeah, you guys might have heard of jokes where like you guys are leaking your API keys onto GitHub. That's something which is extremely scary. Don't leak your API keys. Don't hard code them into your code base. Usually what you do is you create a file as such, .env, and let's say I remake this. I usually add a .env file to my project so I don't end up leaking it. Let's say I have added this .env and I have some very important information inside it. Password equals to 12345 6. Probably the password to a bank vault. Okay. But I want the workings of this, but I don't want this to be pushed to my GitHub so that people can see it. So how I'd avoid it? I just do .env. As soon as I add something to the to something like this to my project, as soon as I remove it, it becomes uh, highlighted like unadded. But if I add the name in the git ignore, that's that's GitHub basically telling that yeah, well, I need this for the working, but don't push this onto my GitHub. And if I make the changes and push it, git commit, modified git ignore, git push origin template 2. And doing so, we should be able to see that we just made a change right now, but the env file has not been added. This is one of the most important files you can add to GitHub. After that we have a readme.md. This is the mm, this is the document which you see over here in this part. Let's say I have added the contribution branch, right? So I want to give an intro to that. Rectangular component .jsx. So whatever you type into the README shows up over here. So this is important for the documentation of your project. Git add dot, git commit, modify like added rectangular component to the documentation in README. It usually has an extension .md. Okay, and I do git push origin template. So push origin. I've made an error. Origin template 2. Yeah, perfect. If I refresh the page, I should be able to see that my documentation has been changed. Also, there's something known as the license file. This is dealing with the legal aspects of the project. It's essential for the commercial aspect of it. If you're making any changes to the license, if you're saying that okay, like it's not available for commercial purposes, but people working on it for as on it for intellectual reasons, for research, can use it, then you add it to the license. This is open for people who are using it for research purposes. Although it's stated in a more legal language over here, and I want to add this to my license over here. I'll just add this again. Added new terms to the license. Git push origin template 2. If I refresh the page, this new license should be updated. Now people can arrive at your repo and see the license as well as the README files as well as your .git ignore and everything. I hope that was a fruitful session. We have come to the end of our GitHub workshop. Thank you so much for
One
staying
more
till then.
thing,
Any question? Yep.
like we could add pre-made licenses, right, to the
Yeah,
GitHub
yeah,
console.
absolutely. Absolutely. Like what you just do is you just go into this license file over here and just paste it over here. We can also, yeah, we can also make it pre-made, like to mention over here, like when you're creating a new repo, you don't need to just go into the terminal and make it. You can add the license file directly. So did I clear up the doubt, or is there something I'm missing?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Thank you so much for the meeting.